Hello people of the internet, this is Kaiju Noir here with a review for Death Kappa. This film was brought to us by Tomoe Haraguchi, who also worked on the monster designs in the first two installments of the Gamera trilogy. About a year ago, I saw a video here on YouTube where Haraguchi explained how there were no more monster movies being made and that he wanted to make one of his own using old school special effects. Watching this, I could tell that he really had a passion for kaiju films and could understand why he would want to make one of his own. Soon afterwards, I saw the movie's 50s style trailer and was psyched. Sadly though, Death Kappa ended up being one of the most disappointing movies of last year for me for a number of reasons. For this review, I will be going a little more in-depth with the plot than usual, so here's a spoiler warning. The film stars Kanako, played by Misato Hirata, who returns to her small village after her career as a pop singer failed.
Your music's bad and you should feel bad.
There, she takes on the responsibility of taking care of a mythical cucumber-loving creature known as the Kappa. When an evil organization tries to kidnap the Kappa for their twisted experiments, both Kanako and the Kappa must put a stop to their evil plan to take over the world with an army of mutant fishmen. Now up until this point, I was really enjoying myself with the over-the-top plot and the martial arts action. Unfortunately though, it is at this point where it all falls apart. In an act of desperation, the organization's crazy scientist unveils an atomic bomb that would supposedly destroy all of Japan. However, this was not to be, as the explosion causes both the Kappa and one of the fishmen to mutate into Death Kappa and Hangulus. Hangulus shows up out of nowhere in the middle of the city and goes on a rampage until Death Kappa shows up for a fight to the death. Where do I begin? First off, what happened to the whole bit about the bomb being powerful enough to destroy the whole country? Second, Kanako is shown to have survived later on, so where was she during the second half of the film? Third, how exactly did she survive in one piece? And if that's the case, where are the antagonists, who never again appear in the film? Are we to assume that they're dead? Finally, how did Hangulus appear in the city out of nowhere, with no one noticing him until he actually started breaking stuff? And why did Death Kappa take so long to get to the scene?
It just raises too many questions.
This transition is so abrupt and jarring that it's as if the filmmakers forgot that they were supposed to make a kaiju movie halfway through filming and went so far as to sacrifice their protagonist and antagonist in order to make it one. Because Kanako doesn't appear till the end of the movie, she doesn't get any time to develop as a character. Had she been more involved in the plot, she could have had some sort of character arc involving responsibility or some other important life lesson. Now you could say that this film was deliberately trying to be nonsensical, like the monster movies of days gone by, yet as a fan, I say that those films, as crazy as they could be at times, were at least consistent with their stories, and didn't have as many plot holes as this film does. During Hangulus' rampage, the military used everything from jets and tanks to a maser cannon-inspired vehicle. These scenes would be entertaining if the humor didn't fall flat on its face and the special effects weren't so lackluster and inconsistent. There's a running gag where several soldiers cry out to their mothers before they die, which really gets old by the second time they do this. In many scenes, there's a fighter jet pilot wearing makeup and acting feminine. I suppose the joke was that he was a transsexual, but personally I found this character annoying and offensive, and was perplexed by his inclusion. Then again, I shouldn't be so surprised since Japan is a country that isn't exactly known for being PC. The special effects, as I said before, felt very lazy as the green screen effects look real bad, the night sky has a distracting shade of blue, and the strings holding the aircrafts are constantly shown in every scene, though the models were well done for the most part. Say what you will about the effects in the old school films, but at least the people behind them worked to the best of their abilities to make their effects as convincing as possible despite their lack of budget and resources. And they certainly didn't show the strings as much as they do here. In the director's initial video, he expressed how much he wanted to make a film with old-fashioned practical effects. So if that's the case, then why add digital effects such as the shaking ground and Hangulus' fire breath? Why have decent computer effects, yet underwhelming practical effects? The final battle between Death Kappa and Hangulus is very entertaining, if a little on the short side. Two scenes in particular stood out to me, though not in a good way. One involved the monsters' heads being portrayed by hand puppets, which struck me as odd, and the other involved Death Kappa eating a giant cucumber given to him by a string-supported helicopter and swallowing it despite it clearly still being shown in his mouth. Both suits are well designed and very appealing. Death Kappa is portrayed with a lot of energy and has a smirked look on his face. Hangulus is pretty much your typical dinosaurian type monster with a seemingly large influence off of Titanosaurus from Terror of Mechagodzilla. The monsters also display very humanistic behaviors, such as when they were using wrestling moves, toying around with nunchucks, and playing volleyball with nuclear reactors. Seeing as how this seemed to be a parody of Japanese monster movies by this point, this was the only aspect that I actually found funny throughout the whole film. Something that annoyed me after the fight was how Death Kappa displayed the ability to breathe a Godzilla-esque nuclear breath, something that he never used during the fight. What was supposed to be a serious attempt at a monster movie ended up being a lazy, poorly done parody of the genre. The characters have little to no depth, the special effects are uneven, and the plot has holes so large that Godzilla himself can walk through them. Maybe it's because I've been exposed to movies such as the Gamera and Godzilla films, but I have certain expectations when it comes to my monster movies. What was something I really wanted to love ended up being something that brought me annoyance and disappointment, and that is why I'm giving Death Kappa a paltry 2 out of 5, if only for the decent first half and the climax. I only recommend this as a rental to only the most hardcore of kaiju lovers. To think that Death Kappa was supposed to be our next kaiju star.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Well, let me tell you something. He ain't got nothing on Gehara, a monster whose movie was a much better parody than Death Kappa will ever be. So until next time, everybody, take care.